Welcome to the Build a Purposeful, Profitable Business Doing What You Absolutely Love podcast, hosted weekly by Ange Dove, your business fairy godmother, professional copywriter, published author, and business owner of 20 years. In every episode, Ange will deliver useful bite-sized insights to help you find your voice, position your value, demystify the marketing tech, and run your business on your terms.
Okay, welcome to episode 5. And in today's episode, I'll be interviewing Justin Don. Justin's life has been dedicated to helping people just like you and families like yours receive focus, intelligence, and persistence that most would never know about. Justin Don touches the lives of 10,000 plus people a year in live conferences, seminars, presentations, and consulting. Businesses are aligned for the first time, confidence rekindled, and growth awakened. Hello, Justin. Welcome to the program.
Hello, Ange. Thank you so much for having me here. I really appreciate it.
It's wonderful to have you here. Okay, so maybe we can start. If you can just introduce yourself a little bit more and tell the listeners exactly what it is you do.
Certainly. So my name is Justin Dunn, as Ange said, and I help creative people who might lack a sense of direction in life, at work, sometimes even in health, mainly in business. And I help them to succeed on their own terms, financially, emotionally, relationships, but not romantic relationships. That's not my area of expertise. I mean connections and relationships, aside from the family. And even health. So the way I do it is with a 3-step process. We define what they want, where they want to go. We design the winning formula, and then they are empowered to do it. Now, when it comes to a business context, I can throw out some more jargon in there, but that is the simplicity of what I do with people. Some people call me a business consultant, a strategic consultant, a life strategist. I've heard all kinds of things. So that's what I do.
Okay, fantastic. So there may be some people listening then that are in that business as well. And maybe there's some nuggets that they can pick up from you today around that. And then other people who are looking for those types of services, you should say, as you say, they're creatives, that they may not necessarily have a plan. That's me. Okay, so in your business, what has been your biggest challenge so far? How did you overcome it?
Oh, right. Well, to be honest with you, the biggest challenge so far has been the whole current situation that the world is undergoing, which is what's called a pandemic or the coronavirus. So if anyone's listening to this in 20 years, in 2020, that's what we're doing. And the challenge specifically has been how to take what I do offline, which is consulting with businesses big and small, national, international, and one-man bands, startups, all sizes and manners of business, for-profit, not-for-profit, the public sector, and government. So I consult with all kinds of people, but I've been doing it offline. I little networking event, shake hands, do business.
Yeah.
And now we can't. So we're in a period of time, and we have been now for months. We were told it'd be weeks. It's actually been months. And now we're told this, that, and the other thing, and I don't believe any of it. We can't go out. We don't have networking events. So I've had to transfer everything online. That has been the biggest challenge, actually. And I am in the process of overcoming it using tools and techniques from my mentors.
Right. Whose
expertise lies in making money, monetizing online. And so those people are Joel Bauer. Is one of them. Primarily. Yep. Another one is Mark Joyner. So shout out to those luminaries in the industry.
Yeah.
And I'm turning to those folks and learning from them on how I can translate what it is that I do and make it transferable online. It's working. I have to say, it's working.
Is there any advice you could get? Because I think a lot of people are going through the exact same thing right now, and people are transitioning to online. I think applications like Zoom have never been so busy. Right? Internet bandwidth is down because everyone's online. So is there any advice, actually, that you would give to people making that transition?
Yes. The best piece of advice that I can give to people is not like any particular techniques of my own, but to be careful who you listen to. Who do you listen to? So be careful, because I could, if I really wanted to, put myself out there as an expert online, as a digital marketer. Well, I'm not an expert digital marketer yet. So how do you know? So that would be the best piece of advice, is be careful who you listen to, whose tips you take, what matters, what doesn't matter. And look at people who actually have made money online, make money online as a significant source of revenue. And I don't mean just, making a couple bucks here and there. I've made a few $100s online in the past, here and there, but never a significant amount of money, never to make it like a career. So, for example, the people that I mentioned, I would endorse and recommend looking at them if you want to do that. You need a mentor, you need a guide. Doing it on your own, trying to figure it out with YouTube videos here and there, is a snake pit. And you can get snake bitten and you can end up a major failure. So look at people like Joel Bauer, who have a 40-year track record, people like Mark Joyner, who also have a decades-long track record, and potentially people like Dr. Terry Levine, who also has 40-year track record and makes a significant amount of her income, and always has, online since the inception of the internet. I would look, those are the people I trust. Now, there are potentially other people out there, and I am aware of a great many of them, and a great many of them I do not trust. But I do not want to denigrate anybody here, so I'm not going to talk about the negative pitfalls. I would just say, be careful who you listen to, and be careful how much money you plunge and invest into it. Some of these programs can be very expensive. Well, what's the return on the investment going to be? Is there a guarantee? These are the kind of pieces of advice I would give to people. So don't get yourself in a hole.
Yeah. Okay. So it's all still quite early days and it's all quite new, right? Everybody's trying to juggle the same thing. But whether it's online or offline, what would you say would be 3 to 5 key skills or techniques that would protect any business owner really from failure?
Right. So some of the things I just said would protect from failure would already be very, very relevant for this. But I would propose that, for example, the system that I do, and what I'll do is I'll just give a few tips here and techniques from my proprietary system that I use with my clients offline, now online. And so what I would say is, number one, and again, in addition to what I've just said, because we're talking about protecting from failure. So don't get yourself in with the wrong mentor, end up spending a fortune, having no return, no guarantees. Look at the smart people. But in addition to that, let's talk about, number one, how do we make sure that we don't fix what isn't broken? How do we uncover those previously hidden solutions that we didn't see? And so I'll teach a little technique to do that right now.
Cool. Yeah.
And that is something I developed called Beyond. It's my little logo, and look beyond. From the phrase, look beyond the obvious. Okay?
Yeah.
Let me explain it first in a way that hopefully everyone can get how this comes about before I teach you the technique. Because otherwise what happens, people think, that's too simple. No way. And yet, I've been able to generate millions of British pounds in revenue for nonprofits. I've been able to take people from really 0 clients to their first few, and then to a few more. I have been able to take a small 2-man show here, and they're now operating at capacity. So it works. The mind has disorder, right? And it manifests as what? Disorder in the behavior, weird behavior, neuroses, or whatever you want to call them, as well as disorder in physicality, tics and whatever. Mental disorder manifests physically, right? We all know that. You don't have to be a psychologist. You can just see that in humanity. But the same thing is true in a company or organization. And how does that work in a company or organization? Well, Any disorder within the systems or processes of an organization manifests as physical disorder in the environment of the organization.
Right.
And the organization could be your solopreneur company at home, your office. It could be that, but it's the physical environment. So what do? This is what you do. It can use technology like a little iPhone. You can take a piece of paper with a pencil, nothing more, nothing fancy, and just walk around and look. Don't listen. All you do is look with your eyes. You don't use your ears for this exercise, just your eyes, and you make a note on the paper of any disorder that you see. Milk cartons out of place. If you're a cafe, why are they not in the fridge? Tortilla chips with the printer paper, what's that doing there? Tons and tons of Post-it notes all around the monitor. It makes it look kind of funny. What's that doing? You don't start to judge, nor do you want to hear any excuses from the managers or from yourself. So you just write it down. From that, you will see some kind of trend. That trend will reveal to you those previously hidden solutions. So let me give you an example. I mentioned the millions of pounds for a charity. That charity could not figure out how to secure more funding, but they needed to also secure more service users. That's the beneficiaries of the charity. 10 years, 3 organizational restructures, and 2 rebrands did not achieve that because that was the wrong target, not the right solution. When I came in, I noticed a box in the back of a conference room, and it was full of marketing collateral that was out of date, not recycled, what's it doing there? And what that led to, along with other things, but what that disorder led to was the fact that the brand was fine. The organization was fine. What was missing was there was nobody whose responsibility it was to disseminate that marketing collateral into the hands of the delivery partners, who then give it into the hands of the prospect, the prospective service users who use the organization. Once we built that into the job descriptions and made it the actual job of people, the pipeline was resolved. No need to hire business development managers, no need to hire salespeople, no need to do anything else other than resolve that one thing.
Right.
And that's why it's called look beyond the obvious, because everybody was telling me, oh, that's nothing. We need to recycle it. And green initiatives. We start talking about all these other things, except that was the problem. And what we needed to do is not fix what isn't broken, which is what they've been doing for 10 years with restructuring the organization, with rebranding. That was not broken. In fact, to this day, most people prefer the original brand. Not the brand or the second rebrand.
Right.
Those rebrands are fine. They're pretty, but still people feel that the most elegant version was the first version. And the founder still wears the pin from the first version. Go figure. He's still around. And he's a member of the royal family. So he's a member of royalty. So the thing is that you have to look beyond the obvious. So all you do, once again, is you take a piece of paper and a pencil or digital, doesn't matter, and you walk around, you write down what you see that is disordered, not ordered. Messy desk. But guess what? Messy desk for some creatives is okay. All we're doing is writing it down now without judgment and without listening to any excuses. Then, because what we'll do is we'll take a look at it and we'll see if there's any trends. And when we move on to step 2 of my process, that's when we can say, whoa, that's actually already working just fine, because we noticed trends and there's a broken process there. And that's when we know how to write the ultimate strategic plan for the business.
Right.
So the first thing
that's something that you would come in then, and after you've made these observations, going around their office and seeing what's visually there, you're able then.
So I can go in. I can do this for people. I can wander around and make notes. I can do this together with people. I can teach people how to do this. You can do it on your own now that I've told you how to do it. And you So it's the options are all there. The point is that that's important to do first, because if you don't do it first and you start to write your strategy first, what ends up happening is you pick the wrong target.
Right. Okay. And you end up rebranding and you didn't need to, right? For example. That's fantastic. Yeah, one thing I've noticed through this lockdown as well is because we're a lot more relaxed, I would say. It's a slower pace. I'm starting to notice things that I hadn't noticed before because I was so busy getting on and doing things. And now I was kind of taking a step back and doing similar kind of things to what you've been talking about, and just really looking at things and saying, well, does that really work? Is that needed? So it's interesting.
Yeah, well, there's again, asking yourself those questions are good in a different context, not in this context, right? Because those questions now remember I said we're suspending all judgment. That's why I like to use a piece of paper and a pencil, because I don't want the excuses, not the ones I listen to, but neither the ones that are in my head. So I'm not asking questions at that point. I'm just writing it down. I'll ask the questions later. Believe me, we'll ask the questions because we'll analyze it. But at the first step, you just have it on paper and you see, where is that disorder? And it's not that you need to fix the disorder. For all I know, that box of junk is still in the office. It's not that you need to fix it. You don't need to have a tidy office if you don't want to. But it leads to the solution.
Right.
Do you get me? Do you understand?
It has to work with how they work. Has to get the results.
That part of it too, of course, yeah, because the culture of the organization was not sort of a trust-based organization where they will do things that are not in the job description. So I said, that's fine. We're not going to change the culture. What we'll do is we'll just build it into the job description, because it's the type of place that says, hey, it's not my duties. I ain't doing it. But no, what I'm saying here is it's not just that. It's actually, it leads to the solution. It doesn't necessarily that thing need to be fixed, because some people are terrified. They say, I have a messy desk. I'm like, that's okay. Keep your messy desk, but write it down. The Post-it notes that I mentioned, that's a real example. That led to a solution that took that business to be at capacity within 2 weeks. But resolving that, guess what? The Post-it notes are still there, because it's not that the disorder itself needs to be resolved. It needs to be cleaned up. It's that it leads to the solution. The Post-it notes were the hint that told me, there's a problem here in communication, in getting the messages across, because all day long you're writing notes to yourself and to that person, and you don't want to forget to tell them and all this. And so what we did in that context is we instituted a morning briefing so that everything, all the challenges for the day, what we're expecting, the customer orders that need to be completed, all the things that we're expecting for the day were handled in the morning before they started. So we didn't need to have so many Post-it notes. So the Post-it notes don't matter, but they're the thing that leads you to know what you need to attack. Does that make more sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, great.
So what would you advise then for somebody if they're just starting out on a business, so they don't find themselves down that hole? What would you advise them to do in order, when they're setting up the business and they're setting up their systems and strategies? What's your best advice?
It's the same thing. I would still start there, because your life affects your business. So the startup, for example, an example of a startup I helped, he was working from home. He lives at home with his parents. So we still did this process, because what we discovered was there was stuff stored in the living room, stuff stored in the bedroom, stuff stored here. And there was no business, it was all, there was a lack of a process in terms of the way the stock flowed. So the stock was the artwork. There was some stock here, some stock there, some stock there. And there was a problem in the way it was flowing, and there was a danger to damaging it. So simply looking at that, even as a brand new startup, you can start to see where there might be areas that need to be managed or handled in the business. So not necessarily fixed, but could be fixed. But you still
so
start.
It could be a forewarning of what was to come if you don't take.
Because if you're a solopreneur just starting out, you still have a life, and that life is your business. That life is your business. If you're not an entrepreneur, you still have a life. And so you can still do that process and see what in your house is the pockets of disorder, which leads you to know, right, I need to, tinker with my life strategy here, because there's just, like me, for example, if I was going to do it on myself right now, I'd be like, oh, right, there's a lot of papers there. I haven't done the taxes yet. Yeah, there's a little bit of a problem in the information flows here, and I need to I don't necessarily need to clean up the papers, but I need to make sure that I manage the financials better. So it's a clue, whether that's business or self-employed, it doesn't matter. I would still start there.
Okay. And then just to wrap up, perhaps you can talk a little bit about what are your plans for the rest of the year? Probably weren't the same as when you started the year, but
of course,
and of course we don't know when it's going to end, really, do we? But
that's too true, as we say here. Too true. My plans for the rest of the year are quite simply to do what I do digitally. So digital market myself, and to make myself accessible to a lot more people. Because here's something that somebody told me once, a friend of my client. I end up friends with all my clients because they love what I do so much. So, and it's so empowering. And then it's kind of like, so I need to figure out two things, actually. Number one, it's how do I make myself needed a little bit more? Because in fact, I'm so empowering to people, they end up just not needing me anymore. And I'm like, bye. And then I see them on LinkedIn and various places making all the right moves as if I was consulting them. In other words, the one session I had with them, and that's it. They're like me. They can do it. They're perfect. Hayden Nickboli, a shout out to you from SWA Design, is perfect like that. I have nothing to say to him other than praise what he's doing because it's perfect. Perfect. Okay. There's nothing I would advise him on. And so the one thing is figure out how potentially I can become a little bit more needed. And that's not to scale back what I offer or let's give people less, because I'm not of that nature, but it's to figure out what I can do so that I'm there more and that people will want to come back and that will actually need to come back. So I need to figure that one out. Number two, it's of course to take everything digitally. And my friend Ruben, he said to me, what you do for people like me is enormous. It's a pity that people on lower income can't access your help. So the other thing I'm doing is figuring out how to make myself more widely accessible, whether that's through a book that I publish that people can find relatively cheap, whether that's through a Facebook group that I open up as a membership, which I'll mention a little bit more about later. And that way people have access to me, maybe not as intimately as if it was like one-on-one consulting, but at least they have regular daily access to me and my ideas, and they can ask questions. And, of course, people I interview and bring in, because that's one of the things I really do all the time is bring in resources and connect people and flow business to people and work to gotten people jobs and business and all that. So that everyone has access to that, but it becomes insanely affordable. So that's the other thing I'm working on.
That people can come in at different levels depending on.
That's right. So, you can have Justin on one, or you can just have, Justin's Facebook group. And that is
like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And that way everybody can access that. I mean, right. Okay. So if you have no computer so maybe not everybody, but most people, can afford, something very modest like that. So those are the two big things I'm doing this year, because I'm really, and what a blessing that this thing happened now, because otherwise I would have never even thought to do it. I would have just continued, on as I'm doing. And this might be more or less lucrative for me. I don't yet know, but it will certainly help me to reach and help more people.
Yeah. That's a great way to look at it. I'll say it is a blessing in a way. You're right in that sense. Look, Justin, where can we find some more information about you?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to get at, hinting at earlier. What I'd like for people to do is to go to my Facebook group. Right. Join the Facebook group, or request to join the Facebook group. It is a private group. I call it a private VIP group because I treat everybody in there like a VIP. Currently, there's, I forget, 60 or 70 people in there, so it's an intimate group as well. I don't know when I'll cap it off. I'll cap it off when I feel like I can't help that many people. And it's free, at least for a few weeks, it's free. And then we'll discuss that later. So it's really there's nothing to lose to join it in there. You see there, you get a flavor for what I'm doing, for what I offer to people, also for the people I bring in, the interviews that I have in there, the world's leading color consultant, for example, just the other day. Somebody who's the world's leading expert in stress reduction and elimination of anxiety. I'm going to be interviewing a pretty well-known Hollywood film director and writer who I've worked with in my days as an actor. So I'm bringing lots of resources that are not just me. And so the group is called The Business of Living. The Business of Living. TheBusinessOfLiving. The Business of Living. Just search for that, and if you'll see a graphic, you'll get that it's me, because it's quite, there's a little book in my hand, and it's quite distinct. So if there's another one called that, don't join them, or join them too.
Okay.
No problem. There's no competition, only collaboration, cooperation, and you know what? Mark Joyner, one of my great mentors, when one time I asked, well, what about competition? What if there's already so many people doing what I do? And his answer was a question: do you really think the world is that small?
Exactly.
It's so true. There's enough abundance for all of us. So that's where I'd like for people to go. If they go there, there is then an opportunity for them to get a free copy of my book. The instructions on how to do that are in the membership in there. So join the group. You will get a free copy of the book. It's upcoming, so it's not ready yet. I expect maybe another week, and it's going to be fantastic and empowering just as much as this interview, if not more. And so I would like to give everybody that gift, but they got to join the group to do it.
Okay. So The Business of Living, and I'll put a link where this appears anyway. I'll put a link to that page so they can go and join and get all the benefits of working with Justin Don. Okay,
Wonderful.
So
thank you, Anne.
So much, Justin. It's so great to have you on. And I look forward to catching up with you in your group as well.
Me too.
Okay.
Thank you so much. My love to you and all your listeners.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.